July tests, and it's Wales up against Canada from the Principality Stadium. 2 a.m. is the kickoff. I do not know how I'm going to get through this weekend's games because I've got the All Blacks finishing at 9 p.m, Ireland and Japan kicking off at 12 a.m, midnight. Then this one at 2 a.m, British and Irish Lions 4 a.m. Bloody hell. Not that I'm complaining. It's a feast of rugby, and this game is kind of in the middle of it. So, yeah, Wales and Canada, two teams which don't get to meet that often, mostly at Rugby World Cups, I would imagine. They've met, I think, what was it, like 6 times? Was it 4? But yeah, Canada have actually beaten Wales, believe it or not, but that was all the way back in 1993. What were you doing in 1993? Definitely something probably quite different from what it is now. 2009, if my research is correct, is the last time they played, and Wales got that one done 32-23. This one is predicted to be a little bit more lopsided than that, but Canada, their rugby has kind of been on a bit of a downhill slide. But I must say, since then, at least with the establishment of the MLR, pretty much all of these guys, barring a few guys from the academy, are professional rugby players, which is the first step in getting a kind of professional looking team, right? If you ask any of these guys, what do you do for a living? Rugby player. That's generally a good way to build a proper team. For Wales, it's not a glut of new caps, but there are a few. Remember, without their British and Irish Lions, they aren't at kind of full strength. But yeah, we'll go through the teams, and you guys can let me know your thoughts on how you think this one is going to pan out. Like I mentioned, 2 a.m. for me. Not the ideal time, but still, what is good that they're going to have 8,200 fans at the stadium. Apparently no food and drink allowed for those fans, which is bizarre. They're allowed to bring their own stuff, but no alcohol. So, there you go. It's a weird one. I'm not sure. I'm not following the pandemic too intently in various places, but I guess there's reasons for all the social distancing and whatnot still, despite vaccination rates, I think, being pretty high, but caution has to come first. People's health and safety is always going to take priority, but rather than being able to buy beer at the stadium. But anyway, for Wales, it's Nicky Smith, Elliot D, and Dillon Lewis in the front row. I'm kind of pleased to see Nicky Smith back playing for Wales. Seems to have had a little bit of an absence, doesn't he? I quite rate him. Ben Carter, speaking of guys who are well rated, is a guy that I know virtually nothing about, but Wayne Pivac has talked him up big time. So good to see him get his debut. He's 20 years old, and as I said, Wayne rates him pretty highly, so I look forward to seeing what he's all about. Will Rowlands is kind of inexperienced at this point. Locking partner for him, Moriarty, Botham, and Wainwright. That's a pretty nice looking back row, and for years Wales has had depth upon depth upon depth in the back row, and such is evidenced here. You've got no Tipuric, you've got no Navidi, you've got no Faletau, and yet you can still put out a back row like that. Wainwright is about as athletic as a number 8 will get. Moriarty is kind of that middleman, and that he's a kind of tough as nails guy, isn't he? He's a pretty solid ball carrier, very aggressive, and both of them's got a hell of a work rate. So yeah, good combination for those guys in this Wales lineup. 9-10 is Williams and Sheedy, which I also think is a pretty nice looking 9-10 combo, man. I know Sheedy missed a few kicks in that Bristol semi-final loss the other day, and Thomas Williams, I know the number 9 jersey seems to be a bit of a merry-go-round at the moment for Wales. They can't quite lock in who is the number 1 guy, but I reckon going forward, Thomas Williams has to be the front runner. Surely, I guess Hardy maybe as well. I don't know. But I do like watching Thomas Williams play either way. Good distribution, and he likes to snipe every now and again. Midfield, Jonathan Davies and Willis Halaholo. Davis is captain. He's in the 12 jersey rather than 13 for this one. Neither of those guys is that young. Jonathan Davis has certainly got a lot more caps than Halaholo does. But again, it's a kind of nice looking midfield. Halaholo is pretty explosive on attack, and Jonathan Davis is probably one of the most all-rounded midfielders in the game. Tom Rogers gets his debut on the left wing. He's another guy I don't know a lot about, so I look forward to seeing him. 22 years old. Jonah Holmes on the right wing, and Leigh Halfpenny at the other end of the experience scale will be getting his 100th cap. I think it's 90 odd for Wales and a few for the British and Irish Lions. So big congratulations to him. What a massive achievement. What a good servant to the game he has been. So a good bit of experience at the back there for Wales. The bench, Elias, Tomos, Brown are the front row replacements. Gareth Tomos will be getting his debut, so another congratulations if he comes on. Turnbull, good to see him back in action for Wales. It's been a long absence for him. Opposite end of the scale, Taine Basham, it's his debut as well. Kieran Hardy, Ben Thomas, and Nick Tompkins are the other replacements. Ben Thomas, I guess, is going to have to cover 10, but he's also on his debut, so we will see. Nick Tompkins, interesting that he's on the bench, eh? I would have thought maybe him at 12 and Davies at 13, but anyway, we will see how things go. For Canada, a team I know even less about. A lot of these guys played at the World Cup, which is kind of a bit of good news. I think it's their first game since the World Cup. It's been a long time between drinks. The front row of Sears-Duru, Quinn, and Nicky were all at the Rugby World Cup, so that's a little bit of consistency. Likewise, Keys and Larson in the second row. The back row sees O'Gorman get his debut at number 6, so congratulations to him. Lucas Rumble was perhaps my favourite Canadian player. I know everyone goes with Tyler Ardron, but Lucas Rumble, not only having a cool surname, but he likes to rumble in that he likes a good tackle. And there's something about a guy who plays in the loose forwards who just likes to get up off the deck and make another tackle. Lucas Rumble is one of those guys, so I look forward to seeing him back in action. And Vicky Lani is also there at number 8, so I think Rumble's the most experienced of those three. Braude is getting his debut at 9, and Peter Nelson is there at 10. He, I think, ran the show for Canada at the last Rugby World Cup, so again, one of the more experienced guys. And in terms of attacking numbers, Canada didn't do a heck of a lot of attacking at the World Cup, but I think he was one of their better players. I think he plays in France, but not at like the top level. Ngawati's going to get a debut at 12, and Lesage is getting his Canada caps back on. I think, didn't he get injured at the World Cup? He was another one of their better attacking players. He's at 13, so again, experienced guy and a debutant. Lloyd, Davies, and Cooper Coates are the back 3. I think it's only Lloyd who was at the World Cup. So, yeah, 2 guys who are kind of additions to the lineup for the Canadians. They do have another guy who plays in France as their reserve scrum half, Percillier, and then Howard, the reserve hooker, was also at the World Cup. But yeah, it does seem to be a bit of a mixture, and like the big guns that you would traditionally associate with Canadian rugby. DTH van der Merwe, obviously he's like 35 by now, so his time with the Canadian team is done. Tyler Ardron and Evan Olmsted, I don't think were able to get released for this game. So yeah, I'm a bit surprised there's no Matt Heaton, but I'm not sure if he is injured or what. No Hassler, who was another one of those guys that was a bit of a standout at the World Cup. I think he might be in his late 20s as well. So not sure what the deal is with the full team. But yeah, as I said, a lot of these guys are playing professional rugby as their job. So they're only going to get better if they can kind of build on that, I would imagine. As I mentioned, they haven't played in a very long time. But the Canadian team hasn't been the best in recent times, as is evidenced by their position in the world rankings. They're below teams like Hong Kong. And Wales, are Six Nations champions, so they should be pretty comfortable winners. The bookies over here in New Zealand have got Wales by 40 points. The Rugby Forecast algorithm goes a step further and says it's going to be 51. But yeah, we will see. I hope it's not like a huge kind of blowout. I hope these Canadian guys enjoy the experience of playing at the Principality. It's, for some of them, maybe like a once-in-a-lifetime gig. And I hope it's not a total blowout, although Wales would obviously like to, to stamp their authority on this game as well. But anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts on the game. How do you think this one is going to go? Are you predicting a big blowout, or do you think the Canadians can, I don't know, do similar to what the Georgians did in their game against South Africa and maybe trouble Wales early on? Anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts, and I will talk to you guys soon. See you later.